Okay, my friends, it keeps getting weirder and weirder. Roger, once again, Mudfossil University, doing a study on Tenochtitlan, the rocks and the weathering and the properties. And I understand the evolution of the building materials and how I believe the biology became more and more accessible because they go through different phases of materials and they get into the red and the black materials and the white materials, which is really blood. Red and black and white is like tenderness and so forth, but the red and the black is blood. Now, so I'm just about finished up with my first video, and I'm just getting ready to do it, and guess what happens? Boom, this pops up. I don't know how it happened. The Aztecs, a clash of the worlds. Now, guess what this is? This is in Mexico City, which is Tenochtitlan, or however you pronounce it. And listen to this now.
It was an enormous piece of stone.
They're out digging in the rock.
And as they excavated further around it, they saw that this stone was carved in ornate and intricate patterns.
Now I want you to listen to what it is. It's apparently a goddess with her head cut off and snakes all over. Now, I think I'm starting to understand the hierarchy of the gods. Well, I'm guessing at this point. I'd like to be a material scientist and say this, and this proves this. Well, I can't do that here. However, I can say this, and this says there's similarities between all the cultures. Then you go through the texts. Then you go through all these stelae and these little glyphs and things. And if you start to put the pieces side by side, it starts to make a little bit of sense. Like, we're not serpents. I mean, I'm not. I don't think. Let them make us in our own image. But we know there's serpents. So there's obviously two different strains of gods. If we're made in God's image, and there were serpents that looked pretty much like gods to me. They were big enough to be gods. The dragon and all that stuff, the feathered serpent. All that stuff is real. And it's real, but it's got to be sorted out.
They quickly notified the archaeologists at Mexico's National Institute of History and Anthropology, and all construction work in the area was stopped. Flocks of archaeologists descended, and excavations began to discover what this remarkable stone was. The more they uncovered, the clearer the picture became. This was a carved stone disc, measuring over 3 meters in diameter. On its surface was the image of a woman, a goddess, naked and decapitated, surrounded by snakes and skulls, and where...
This could be a representation of the earth, I'm telling you. I don't know what to make of things anymore, I really don't.
Wearing a crown of feathers. This was a depiction of a god named Coyolxauhqui, who was worshipped by the ancient indigenous people of Mexico, who today we call the Aztecs. The discovery of this stone sparked an outburst of interest in what else might lie beneath the surface of Mexico City. The President of Mexico issued a decree ordering the entire city block to be demolished and excavated. In all, 13 buildings in the neighborhood were torn down, and the more they uncovered, the more excited the archaeologists became.
Now you see this pattern of building? Totally different than the original constructions of the wet materials. All right, and this goes into and you see this, serpents and all this stuff. This really is what they call marl, I believe, which is the internal organs and so forth. And they used them once the fleshy parts were used up.
They found that the stone disc had been placed at the base of an enormous set of stairs, which led up to a platform on which the ruins of a great pyramid once sat. This was the main temple of a city that had once stood beneath the streets of Mexico City. and had been completely erased by time. This city was called Tenochtitlan, and it was once the heart of a powerful empire. The excavations in Mexico City would go on for another 4 years, and every day its people would come and watch as the ruins of a buried civilization rose out of the familiar streets. As they watched, many of them must have wondered, who were these people who once lived on the land beneath our feet? How had they built such phenomenal constructions of such incredible craftsmanship? And how could such a large and advanced society simply disappear beneath the earth?
All right, I'm not going to go to that side of it because I don't know how they disappeared, and I don't think anybody does, but they're gone. Let's just go past that. How did they do these constructions? What did they use? What's the materials? Who were these people? How much is known about them? I start from the materials that I can investigate, which is the building materials. And I can tell you where they came from. They came from biology, and they came from the dead creatures that drowned in the flood. And I can prove this. That is zero question about that. And they had big equipment, tractors and so forth, and they cut these slabs and made these walls. And that's why they fit together so perfectly, because they were wet when they did it. Okay, so here's another thing I have to dig into, the Aztecs, and this is Fall of Civilizations. And I'm going to be going into where these societies and cultures arose. What did they believe? Who was their god? Because I'm telling you right now, I'm starting to think that there were literally god-ish creatures. Now, I don't know, I mean, the things I found are just beyond the imagination of anyone to comprehend them just with a click of, oh yeah, look at that, it's just a giant dragon, oh yeah, no problem. Well, wait a minute, what is going on there? And I mean, there is so much to think about now, because nobody understood any of this until mud fossils came along. That is the key, until they start to say, let me think about this, about giants, and about the earth is made of creatures, and I mean gigantic, monstrous creatures, and there was intelligent, high-tech people here when this happened, that flood. You see that? They cut these slabs. This is a tendon. That is the blood that is in between this slippery, well, it's probably synovial sheath, but it is in between the tendinous material. And then they took and made these walls back here after they cut those. When they cut them, they were wet. Take it down. Look at this. Zip, zip, zip. They just cut them right out of there, slabbed them right out. Took them down, popped them up, and they just laid there and turned into like putty. You see, this is the Fuerte del Sampiata, Bolivia. No question whatsoever this was wet when this tractor tank vehicle with its designed traction, pads, so that it could sink in here and drive right up there with its I'm sure these were driving. Now, on the road, you could drive with these wheels would be below this surface. So I think these were designed specifically to work on these wet, gooey, gigantic tendons. And that's what this is. And here's another one. Same vehicle. And they were not just here. They were all around the world. And they're cutting the same slabs. I'm not sure, but I think this one might be in Bulgaria. I'm not positive, though. People send me these things, and I don't get a lot of really good details with a lot of them. But I know what I see when I see it. And I'm not easily fooled. You see that? That's tendon. You see that? These look just like a four-wheel drive vehicle today. That didn't happen today. That happened, I believe, about 3,500 years ago, maybe a little more, somewhere in that area, whenever the Great Flood happened. I don't know when it was. I have no clue. That I want to make no assumptions about whatsoever at the moment. There's a lot of work to do here. But I can tell you what, that's a four-wheel drive vehicle. They had all the same stuff we have today back then. You see that? That's a tendon. The kids turned it into a slide. That's the Slurpee on the side. They call it Slurpee. Small, leucine-rich proteins, which are like a sheath, you know. And this is the this is the structure of tendon. I'll show you. Don't forget again, there's another one of these tendons. That's a tendon. These are the cuts, the steps, and they put them back there for the walls. Now I want to show you biology. I know it's just beyond incredible, but that is exactly what we just saw, that they were cutting these things and making walls out of them. But this is us. They were just literally miles tall. I cannot account for that. We just got to get over it and start to pay attention to it, and then maybe someday we'll understand it. My friends, things just don't get any better than this. For me, things just fall right into place. It's like somebody dropped raindrops exactly in spots. Wake up this morning. I've been doing a study on the building materials in South America, how they built these pyramids and all these fancy structures and things that nobody can explain. Well, I can explain them. And I've been studying them, and I've been trying to understand, you know, the progression of this biological material, because it changed. They went to the red and the black period, and there's all this different stuff. So I'm going to go through, but this is unbelievable, fabulous article about the building materials, and it goes into extreme detail. All of the different materials and where they're found and what they built with them and the different chemistry and the whole 9 yards. Very, 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 very thorough. And and I understand all these things because I have all the same stuff. I have all the same stuff. I got it coming out of my ears, and I know what it is, and nobody else seems to understand it because it's biology. It's not just this is not just a concretion of a bunch of little pieces falling together. That's a lung. And that's a bone head. And I'm going to show you things here, like that's a goose's head. Or some kind of a bird. His feathers in his head and his beak and all that. All this stuff has turned to stone that was biology. There's nothing other than biology. It's 100%. Zero exists other than biology. So start with there. And now I'm going to take you through a trip that is going to trip you out. Okay, I know you're going to find this extremely hard to digest, but it is digestible. Just take your time. Now, this is a tendon mat in a living human being which has a serious injury of the tendon ball, which was anchored there, has been ripped from its emplacement. What does that mean? Ah! Scream, scream. That's going to be painful as hell. I've had this happen. Now, here's the deal. Those straps, you see they go run up through that little hole there. They call that a Chinese finger trap. And that allows the tendon to move back and forth and still be anchored with this ball. All right, so your muscle is up here and it pulls and the tendon pulls with it. Well, the ball has to, when it comes back, it locks it in these positions. Everything has what's called interstitium, which is balls that anchor everything so that your flesh can move all around, and then it's supposed to come back pretty much to where it was due to these anchors and straps. Well, these are where they broke off the bumps and made walls out of that when that was flat and wet. Okay, to be honest with you, I kind of lost track of what I was doing. I got about 4 videos going at the same time. These are those little straps. This is what they are. These were tendinous mats, and they are extremely strong, and they're like homogeneous almost. So they look like they're putty, but they were really a tendinous mat material, and these were where the straps ran off. You know, this is going to be all part of the same study that I'm doing on the different evolution of the way they used the materials that they had down there, which were body parts. And I get this stuff all the time. See, Finnegans Cave, a buddy of mine sent me this morning. This is all about Finnegans Cave. That is nothing more than tendons. That's the abrupt transition, which is the glue. Above there was some giant creature's flesh. I'm sorry, that's what it is. I can show you these, well, I will show you in a very, very small one, but we know now that everything there is as above, so below. They're just big and small, doesn't matter. This is exactly what you just saw at Finnegans Cave. That is the tendinous material, and it separates into those stripes, and that is the gluey stuff at the top. And then right above that would have been the muscle. Exactly the same. All right, I'm just going to let it go at this for today. I mean, this study goes very, very, very deep. And, I mean, it's into all of the molecules and all of the way the body separates out molecules to use them in certain ways in certain places. The body is the creator of materials to do the work that it has to be done in the places it has to be done. And I have seen the different transitions of materials. I mean, you can see how exactly abrupt these transitions are. And they are not just here in muscles and tendons. They're everywhere in the body. There's abrupt transitions. There's so much to learn now that is just, I mean, everything has to start from scratch again, because they really sort of glossed over everything. I don't want to get nasty and start pointing fingers, but you know, it's time to stop the denial process that is leading to just nonsense. All right, that's, I suppose, my last word. But somebody should get a hold of me. And again, I don't know if I showed this, I think I did. I need somebody that's honest and true and just wants to get the information out. But somebody important that can get it out. I'm just nothing, and I never will be anything. So I'm just lost. And it's just wasting my time going around in circles for 10 years. I know what I'm doing. I know what I got, all the information. But if you can't get it to the people, it's just wasted time.